What's going on, everybody? This is the inaugural episode of The Report. I am your host, John Harper, and I have to tell you, I am over the moon about coming to you on this podcast. This podcast has been long thought about and recently executed. So this is the inaugural episode. So full transparency, this is probably going to be a really bad episode. I love the quote that your first podcast is going to be bad, your first book is going to be bad, your first leadership job is going to be bad, your first tweet is going to be bad, your first all of that. I'm a big believer in that. And so we're jumping into the deep end of the podcast world, mainly because I feel a tug. I feel a tug on the community. I feel a tug on my heart to give you guys a report that I don't know that the world's giving us today. And let me expand on that to give some context. And so I am, you guys will get to know me as we take this journey. I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a big believer in what he has done for me, and I'm so grateful for it. And as I was studying recently in the morning, one of the things that came up was very vividly that as the Israelites were going to try to take over the promised land, 12 disciples went out, 12 spies went out rather, and the 12 spies came back after 40 days and gave their report, and 10 of the 12 gave a report that said the land is exactly what we were told, but we can't go conquer it. 2 of the 12, Caleb and Joshua, went into the land and saw the exact same thing, but their report was, if the Lord says we can do it, we can do it. And so the report is a podcast that we're gonna have guests on. We're gonna have people on secular from a religious background. We're gonna have people on in leadership. We're gonna have people on that are artists. We're gonna have people on that are creatives. We're gonna have people on that are in the middle of transition, right? I know so many people today, myself included, that is in the middle of transition, and we hear our report from the people we've been hearing our report from for a very long time. And that report is consistent with what they've been telling us for a long time, which is, hey, stay in your lane. This is what you should be doing. This is where you're good. This is where you can provide stability for your family. And I feel such a tug on that community to tell you a different report. I want to give you the report that says it's going to be hard to go take the land. But if it's the right time, and if you're a spiritual person, if God is in the middle of it, it means we go anyway. And so please hear me when I tell you this podcast is for people in transition. This podcast is for people who are looking to do something else, but there's so many roots where you are, it can be terrifying. And I gotta be honest, like I'm sitting here recording this first podcast. You can see behind me there's no decorations. I'm excited for you guys to be able to look back at this and say, what was he doing? I'm literally in the guest bedroom of my house. No decorations. We just moved to Houston, Texas about a year ago for my job, and I just thought, like, so if you're in the transition, you're like, I don't have anything perfect. Like I have a blank wall and a white door. Like, it's pretty bad aesthetically, but I think a lot of us are there. I think so many people think we have to have it all together. You don't have to have it all together. But I also know the hesitation. I know the procrastination reasons. As invalid as they are, they feel personally valid. And so this podcast was created for people that had aspirations for bigger, better things. This podcast was created for people that needed encouragement, needed positivity. This podcast was created for people that needed a push, needed to be shoved out of the nest a little bit and get a different report that is different from maybe what you hear at work, what you hear in your friend group, sometimes what you hear in your family, because we are operating in a group of people that support what we're doing. And if we're trying to transition into something bigger, better, different, that group of people may not and probably will not understand. And that's okay. But the sooner we realize that, the better for all of us. And there's nothing worse than being pregnant with your next step when you can't deliver your next step into this world. And so that's why this podcast is here. This inaugural episode is just for an introduction and for something that came on my heart this morning as I was talking to a friend of mine, and I wanted to share with you guys what that was. I hope it hits you hard. It is Labor Day here in the United States, and so man, I was, as all Americans are, 3-day weekend, like excited to get after it and spend some time with the family. And as I sat in my devotion time this morning, one of the things that jumped right back out at me was the story that I just told you about, the report of the 10 versus the 12. And as I talk through it, even with you, I want us to pay attention to a couple of different things. We will have more people in our life that will give us the report that it's not worth it, don't go, it's gonna be too hard. The ratio is 5x what the positive report was. And so when you think through that ratio, when you think through that's probably what you're feeling right now. You're probably feeling exactly how I am. I'll be very transparent. Okay, like a little bit of background on myself. So I've worked in corporate America for about 10 years. It's been about 10 years. It's gonna be 11 in November. So it's September right now. It's gonna be 11 years in November. And I've worked in corporate America, and corporate America has served me very well. Has served me well, has served my family well. I say this a lot of times to my employees. I still work in corporate America today. I say this to my employees a lot. Corporate America has changed my life financially, my family's financial tree. It has done a lot of things for me, and please don't put this on your situation if it's not true. But for me, corporate America did a lot of things positively, but it also did not fulfill what I believe my calling is. I want us to let that soak in for a minute. Just because it's time to transition from one thing to another doesn't mean the old thing was bad. Hear me. Just because it's time to transition from one thing to another doesn't mean the old thing was bad. It just means its time was up for you. And so when the time's up, that same good thing could be good for a lot of other people, and probably is good for a lot of other people, but it's not good for you. And I will speak from my current experience. That thing could be a job, could be a relationship, could be a business, could be a role, could be a place you live, could be a thought process. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't mean it wasn't good. It just means it may not be right for where you're going. As I was speaking to you guys about this just now, the first thing that came to my mind was sometimes we look at leaving something as if it has to be bad to leave it. Why would I leave it? It's good. Why would I leave something that's good? I don't understand. My initial thought is you leave something that's good to get to something that's great. What's the risk? The risk is the great thing gonna work? Is the great thing gonna work? And I don't know, I'm 36 years old, and I'm to a point in my life where it scares me more to not take the risk and look back when I'm 86 and go, I wonder if. I'll be honest, that scares the hell out of me. It scares me so deeply. I heard this story once. I'll probably butcher it, candidly, but hopefully it helps somebody. Like, I heard this story once. I want you to think about this, right? I want you to visualize it as best as you can, okay? Imagine getting to the end of your life and you get up to heaven, and there's a big line in front of God, and we've all seen like animations, and like God's waiting on all these people, and you're reporting your actions to him. And so you get to the front of the line, you sit at the table with God, and God slides a piece of paper over to you, okay? And you pick up the piece of paper, and you unfold it. You unfold that piece of paper, and in the piece of paper it says business owner, entrepreneur, artist, singer, philanthropist, missionary, teacher, millionaire, community leader, and then it's lists accomplishments. Impacted millions in Nigeria, built water wells in India, built 12 churches across the Middle East, evangelized to all these people, made $15 million a year, started businesses that will last generations. And all these things are on that little piece of paper, and you sit there and you read it, and you go, you got the wrong person. Like, that's the guy behind me. That's the lady behind me. And God says, no, that's who you were meant to be. What's on that piece of paper is not who you became. It's who you were meant to be. That was your destiny when you were born. And when I think about the reality of that, when I think about the possibility of that, The whole reason I'm starting this podcast, honestly, is I don't want that. I don't know if this part of my life is something that is part of what should be on that piece of paper. But what I know is there are hundreds of millions of people that are listening to this, that are living. I hope 100 million people are listening. That'd be inaugural episode. That'd be sick. There. I don't know. I maybe I spoke it into existence. I don't know. There are hundreds of millions of people, right, that have a life that you're destined for, that you are afraid to take the next step. You're afraid, you're apathetic, you're worried about other people, what other people will think. And I will tell you, like, I'll speak for me. It scares me. And so the reason I started this podcast is I want you to hear from people that went through the day-to-day transition, the day-to-day situations, that got the report from the two that said, I think you can do that. But they still had these 10 people over here. How did they make the decisions? How did they make peace with what other people would think? How did they make peace with the fact that they could fail? How did they decide to roll the dice? How did they step into a new situation? How did they decide to get out of their comfort zone? What made them move, right? What made them work harder than everybody else? What made them sweat harder than everybody else, not knowing if it's gonna work? What made them leave something good to get to something great? What made them do that? What made them risk judgment from other people that they loved and that knew them? What made them do that? And I want to bring that to you every single chance I can get, because I think there's such a void. You know, I'll share this other piece of my story with you guys. As a 36-year-old married person with 2 children, I mean, I have what should be and is the all-American family. And this is going to freak some people out, but I have what is the all-American family. I'm married with a boy and a girl. Healthy. I live in suburbia, in a suburb of Houston, Texas. 2 healthy kids, boy and girl. Good marriage. I live the American dream on paper, and I'm not satisfied. I'm content, but I'm not satisfied, because I believe I was created for something bigger. I believe that there's more. And I have such a foundational belief, a core feeling, that there are millions upon millions of people and families in this world, specifically in the US, in the Western culture, where you've out-earned your parents, you have the house you want, you have the kids that everybody says you're supposed to have, you have the job that everybody says you're supposed to have, and you know that you were meant for something more, but saying it is such a massive risk that not only are you risking people judging you on potentially not being satisfied, but you're also risking the judgment of people that have become your safety net, have become the people that you look up to, even though in your quiet moments, you would never want to be them. How many people are worried about what their boss would think and they don't want to be their boss? How many people are worried about what their boss's boss would think? And if they were having a private conversation over a glass of wine and just sitting on a porch and just spitballing, I wouldn't want to be that person. I don't. That guy is stressed all the time. That lady is always on people's butt behind. Like, I would never want that for myself. How many people are working every day, operating every day to make sure they're not judged by that person, by those people? That side of me is why I'm putting this together. I think there are people that are so worried about coming off as ungrateful and that are so worried about leaving good for great. I think there are millions of people that are satisfied with success. I think there are millions of people that are satisfied with success or want to look satisfied with success, but in the depths of themselves want something that brings them significance. And nobody's been willing to bring out the practical steps for you to take that on and to open up to a community that says, I'm gonna commend you for that and not belittle you for that. We want to be part of the report with you that says you are meant for more, and we'll support you in it. And even if that means that there's a battle to be fought and there's land to be overtaken and it's going to be an action item versus just, hey, everybody's going to accept me. Like, let's be honest. Like, most people are not going to accept you. We talked about it. Like, 10 people said the land is good, but we can't go in there because they won't accept us. So you're going to have a 5-to-1 ratio. You're going to have 5x people that are going to tell you it's not worth it. This is for the people that are willing and able to execute on what that looks like. And we want to give you practical steps. We want to give you people. We want to give you access to people. We want to give you access to, who those people are, what their thoughts are, what their feedback is, and hopefully give you permission not just to we want to give you permission not just to do what you want to do, but to feel the way you want to feel during the doing. It's okay to be scared out of your mind about what you're about to do. Hey, like when I'm doing, I am real time right now when I'm recording this, okay? I am real time as I'm recording this, scared out of my mind about what people are gonna think when I post it. That feeling doesn't go away just because. Right? That feeling needs to be addressed, and the feeling needs to be validated. And this podcast is really just to create a community of people that will allow for the people that want to go to the next level, whatever the next level is. That next level could be the next level of where you are, but it also could be the next level of a completely different thing. Like, listen, there are going to be people, I hope there are people that listen to the podcast that have this fear of, if I go from salesperson to sales leader, my sales colleagues are going to make fun of me for now going into leadership. If I go from Amazon worker to Amazon shift leader, all those people are going to talk crap about me. And those are a lot of people, a lot of my friends. I don't want to do that. I hope there are people that go from, man, I'm a local leader to I want to be a CEO. And that's going to take me losing some people that believe in me. What does that process look like? What do I need to do? Is it worth it? I want you to hear from guests on this show. I want you to hear from guests on this show that went from corporate America to owning a small business. Is it worth it? Because like the pressure, you're going to leave a corporate America job that you're making 6 figures at. We're going to have a couple of people on this podcast that are going to make, that have made significantly multiple 6 figures that left and went and started their own thing. Was it worth it? What did you do? How did you navigate the thought process? And we want you to hear that report. We want you to hear the report that, hey, like, let's just be real. Like, it's not a cakewalk, right? I heard a quote from Ed Milet in one of his podcasts that I just came to mind as we were talking through this together. And one of the things he said was, if you feel like you're at a place where nothing's going right, that like you're doing things that nobody else is doing, and you wonder like, am I a whack job? Like, what in the world? He said, that's probably where you need to be. It's probably exactly what you need to be doing. You just got to stick with it enough to see the impact it can make. And so we're going to have people on this podcast that are going to talk to us, myself included. Like, just because I'm the host, like I need this just as much as every single one of you, because I believe we need permission. Let me say it again. I believe we need permission to feel unsure about what we are doing while we are doing it so that we can do it better. I believe we need permission to feel how we want to feel as we go forward, but still make the decisions anyway. We got to be equipped with what it means to make those decisions. We got to be equipped with what it means to be able to execute unsure, uncertain. We got to be okay with it. And we got to give ourselves permission and grace, and give each other permission and grace to be able to feel it. We're going to hear from a lot of people over the next weeks and months that are going to give us that permission. We're going to learn a lot. I'm in this process too. We're going to do it together because I need the report just as much as everybody that is going to be tuning in. And I think we need more and more and more. The noise outside for the report of the 10 is getting louder by the day. And we need more reports that tell us, hey, you're feeling hesitant, so that's okay. And that's something that is expected, but it is also something that is that we got to navigate through together. We're going to give each other tools and thought processes and actions to be able to take to navigate through it. So, hey, this is the inaugural pod. The Report podcast is officially launched. I am so excited about it. Listen, this community is for you. I want you to feel heard, and I want to open up the community and do what we can to make sure that as you're navigating whatever this season of your life is now and in the future, that you have the resources and the people and the community to be able to help you live it out, and really to be able to choose. Are you going to choose the report of the world? Are you going to choose the report that you need to hear to make your dreams come true? And we want to be that report to be the one to support you chasing after and accomplishing everything that you want to in your lifetime. So excited to get to know all of you, excited to be introduced to you officially here on the pod, and man, excited. So I will talk to you on the next episode. Peace.